The Charlotte Hornets lose again, this time to the Miami Heat. What are the chances they can still sneak into that 8th spot? We talk about all of that today. Plus, Wes Bryant joins us on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets on Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available on all platforms. That includes YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at Walker Mail, Doug on Twitter at Doug Branson LOH, and the show handle on Twitter at Locked On Hornets. Doug not going with a hat today. Long hair, don't care. No front bill facing, no sweet hat that you're wearing for us. Is this going to happen the whole show, Doug? Like, this is weird to see you with just nothing on top of the dome.
Well, first of all, I'm upset. I'm upset with the Charlotte Hornets. I'm upset with how this season is ending. I'm upset with the defensive effort. And so I went scouring through my hat collection. I didn't have time to make anything, but I just scoured through my hat collection to see if I could find something that would essentially illustrate how I feel. A big L hat, if you will, without having to go through the arts and crafts of creating a hat with a giant L on it. So the only hat that I could really find to fit that would be the 2017 Charlotte All-Star hat that I managed to grab.
That's a big L hat. That's great. That is a super L hat.
It's a super L for the NC legislature that passed a bigoted bill that resulted in this All-Star game getting canceled. Sorry to get political so early, but so that's going to be the hat that represents another blowout to a competitive, Eastern Conference team, another representation of how this Hornets defense just simply isn't ready to compete on a playoffs level. And look, I mean, after this, the Hornets are now the 10th seed. If that's it, it's not even a seed. Like if this were a pre-play-in, the Hornets are just out of the playoffs. They're just a lottery team. And now they're probably going to have to host Brooklyn. I'm getting into the big stuff before we even really dive into this. The small reasons they lost this game, but that's just how I feel.
First off, like, I know we got to move past it, but that is just such a great L hat with every essence of what it is supposed to be. That brings so much shame to the city. It brings so much shame to you wearing it. How many times have you worn that hat, Doug? I'm surprised we even kept it after all that took place surrounding 2017.
I sort of snagged it as a novelty because I snagged it before it was actually canceled, but it felt like the momentum was going in that direction. I managed to get into the fan shop and just snag one for the sort of Nike backwards check novelty of it all.
That is a shame hat. That is more than an L. Like, honestly, it does Big L a disservice to call it that. Like the RIP, it is the shame hat. That is hilarious that you had. I don't know why I find it so funny. Like it's hilarious that thing even exists in this world and that Doug Branson has one. But you're right. It fits the very essence of copying and pasting your loss to Philadelphia and just applying that entire thing to Miami. You lose one. I just want to get this right. So you lose 144 to 114 against Philadelphia, and then you lose 144 to 115 against Miami.
Command C, and then Command V,
and done. We're all done. That's how we played this game.
Without looking, I think it was 21 3-pointers made allowed against Philly, and 23 against the Miami Heat. And honestly, that's the macro story of this game. So this game is interesting because there's a macro reason why they lost and then a micro reason why they lost. So macro is that you allow 23 3-pointers out of 42. So 55% from three for Miami, 6 of 10 by Hero, 7 of 11 by Duncan Robinson off the bench. And I went back and watched every single one of these 3-pointers made because after the game, James Borrego said, without looking, in fairness to him, he said, I felt like, I don't know what the exact quote was, but he was essentially insinuating that he felt like most of them or some of them were contested. I would say a few of them were legitimately contested, because I don't count contested as Terry Rozier flying when he has really no shot at contesting or making Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero think. I don't count that as contested. I count contested as someone legitimately makes a shooter think about a three or run them off the three-point line. That just didn't happen a lot in this game, and it was because of bad rotations, gambling on defense. That happened to LaMelo Ball famously in the first quarter when Max Strus put him on his caboose. Strus put him on his caboose with a little ball fake, a little shoulder fake. But it wasn't just LaMelo. It was, oh my God, dude, Kelly Oubre. We got to talk about Kelly Oubre. I mean, the defense was atrocious. The offense somehow, Walker, was even more atrocious. The shot decision making, the 3-pointers that he took early in the game, talk about contested threes. They were heavily contested threes that missed badly. Then he started driving and it got a little better. He made a couple of buckets at the cup. But then late in the game, and the micro reason they lost, this early fourth quarter period when they were only down 5 going into the fourth quarter, Walker, he would not pass the ball.
Yeah.
He kept driving, open guys in the corner. Jalen McDaniels open in the corner. Miles Bridges open for a little toss back that would have probably resulted in a 3 because Miles was great in this game. Kelly Oubre wouldn't pass. It was one of the most selfish performances from a defense and offensive perspective that I've seen since maybe PJ Hairston.
I did.
That's a name. I also have a hat. I also have a hat that's signed by PJ Hairston. Amazing. I could have worn that.
Yeah, I mean, what an amazing, just bringing up all of the shame from this organization. 2017, no All-Star game, and PJ Hairston. Look, this has always been the problem. I don't want to be this guy that just constantly goes in on Kelly when it's not his fault that they lost last night. It didn't help, but it's not all his fault. There were a lot of problems with this team. James Borrego cutting Montrezl Harrell from the rotation. Even if Montrezl,
interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And all he said last night on it, by the way, this comes from Skylar Callahan of Sports Illustrated, who tweeted this out. He said, Borrego on not playing Harrell, quote, "It's just a rotation we went to tonight. We'll adjust. We have a few days to figure that out." So basically giving us a whole lot of nothing as to why he decided to do that. Didn't go with, hey, we decided Mason Plumlee might be better at defense in this go around. I don't know.
And he was a +9. Look, so what I think, I'm glad you read that, because what I think on this, I don't think that Harrell, I could be wrong about this, but I don't think Montrez is out of the rotation. I think, if you look at the lineups that Miami went with, they went pretty small. So he was probably making an estimation, hey, I'm going to play PJ more here. I'm going to play Mace 20 minutes, and then I'm going to go with PJ and get a lot of Cody in there. And Jalen. I mean, he loves Jalen right now. He said it after the game. He's going to stick with Jalen. But I think you'll see Jalen. I hope you see Jalen and Montrez, because I honestly, I'm going to say it, big take here. I think Kelly Oubre should fall out of the rotation. It's getting ridiculous. It's
not a flaming take. I don't need to run, I might need to run it through the hot take machine. Don't bring it out. We're good. But you're right. It's funny.
No, you're right. No, actually, yeah, I am good. No, I am going to bring it out. I'm going to bring it out. No.
I didn't mean.
I'm sorry. Here we go.
Coach, this is sports. Got a problem. You got to help.
All right.
All right.
Hold on.
Yeah, you got it. Be careful. God, be careful. I hate this.
Ow!
Always work. Stop. God. Man, come on.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Kelly Oubre should be out of the rotation entirely and should probably not play again until ever for another team.
Okay, that was not a hot take read, but you had to read the print anyway from the hot take machine. Yes, Kelly Oubre, it's been a problem defensively, not moving the ball, and that was the problem at the beginning of the season. I thought was going to come with him being on this roster, just not being a ball mover, but he was in fuego. Talk about being fire. Kelly was hitting shots left and right, and it was fine. It was working out. He was an offense almost unto himself with just being able to hit 10 in some of these games, 9 in some of these games. But you're right. It's fallen off quickly. Gordon Hayward did not play in this game. I mean, just a disaster right now. Brutal with
sore
Gordon.
ankle,
so, out, doesn't play, not available.
Obviously wasn't ready. I mean, it just seems like he wasn't ready to come back. And, they put him in the bench. It doesn't make any sense. Now he's hurt again. I mean, I'd love to talk more about that with Wes coming up. I just want to I do want to address, because everybody saw it, this period at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So they're down 5. Important to note that halfway through the third quarter, they're up 3. Hornets are up 3. With a couple of minutes to go in the fourth quarter, it's essentially tied, or Miami's leading by a few points, and then they go on a mini run. They're up 5 at the end of the third quarter. This game is within reach. It doesn't matter how many 3-pointers that Hero had hit or Duncan had hit. Like, they were down 5. That's not insurmountable.
Yeah.
That fourth quarter lineup that came out, it was IT, it was Plumlee, it was Rozier, it was McDaniels, and I'm missing one more. I think it was another bench player, because I think it was this classic, like what he's been going with a lot, like Terry and the bench unit. Okay, probably Kelly. So Kelly started the fourth. So I've already addressed the issues with Kelly Oubre, and those happened at the early fourth. But the other issue was that the Miami defense decided, they're going to play Isaiah Thomas in these important minutes. We're going to put some starters out here and pick on him. They picked on him on defense. Mm-hmm. Isaiah picked up a couple of fouls trying to defend these threes, because these guys, Hero, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, they're like, this is easy pickings. Like, I'm gonna knock down these 3-pointers or drive on this guy, and so. That's the difficult sort of thing that they have to balance with Isaiah Thomas, is that he can give you a boost on offense. He's helping you in the locker room, but when it comes down to like the is it brass tacks or brass taxes?
We've done this before. That's an old bump, man. Yeah, I always forget too.
I know, I always forget. We'll go with tax this time. The brass tacks of it all is that teams understand matchups and they understand the limitations of certain players. And when it really comes down to it, when they want to win a game, when a great team wants to win a game, they're going to pick on that, and they picked on it.
Yeah, they did. All right, let's get to Wes Bryant in just a moment. Talk about Shady Rays. Welcome Shady Rays to the Locked On Podcast Network. It's an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed, durable frames, and premium high-end finishes. Also, something you won't find anywhere else is Shady Rays' insane protection program. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection on every pair. They will send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happened. Give them a try, and if you don't love them, you'll pay nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays. Exclusively for our listeners, head to shadyrays.com and use code Locked On to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code Locked On for their best deal of the season. 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses, backed by over 150,000 verified star reviews. We welcome Wes Bryant coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
So wait a minute. Do we value players that forget plays all of a sudden? I thought we loved LeBron James because he remembered he could cite to you every single play from every game he's ever played in. Now all of a sudden we like players who have no idea what happened on the previous play.
I don't think you want them to play scared, right?
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
We now welcome Wes Bryant to the program. You can follow him on Twitter at WesGotRange. He is live on the scene. He is in his car.
On the road.
Yeah, he's not driving. We promise you that. He is doing this from the parking lot. It is dedication because, as Wes said before we started recording, we're down to the nitty gritty, and we need to get this in as soon as possible. We need to get it in as the season comes to an end. I appreciate the dedication, Wes. How are you doing?
No doubt, man. I'm good. See, the thing is, I know you enjoy this type of stuff. You like my antics and seeing what my life is like. So I said, these guys, they enjoy this type of stuff.
It's so weird. Like, yes, the fact that you are coming off of an eye appointment for some reason, me and Doug, like, it's just, all right, how do we work that in? And so what we've done is in the third segment for Straight Fire or Fizzle, we're going to include eyeglass wear and the rec specs from the NBA, and you can tell us what's fire or fizzle, because and we just had a Shady Rays read, man. Like, what a great day for that to debut. It's amazing how all of this can come together. It did not come together for the Hornets last night. They lost again. They allowed 1 million points to the Miami Heat, just like they allowed 1 million points to the Philadelphia 76ers. 114 and 115 to score isn't bad, but you still lose by 30. That's amazing. You still lose by 30 when you score that much because defensively, they just didn't contest enough three-pointers. Either way, Philadelphia, Miami, they were both hitting those three-pointers. Man, it's got to come down to the defense, right, Wes, for them to right this ship?
I mean, tremendous. I mean, you could almost look at the three-point discrepancies and say that those almost were solely the reason that they lost when you look at the amount of points, but just the percentages. I mean, like I said, the Hornets haven't been shooting the ball that bad. Now, they went cold last night at the worst possible time, but you give up 60% from the field to the Sixers, over 50% from three, and then last night almost 55%, I believe, from the field to the Heat, and about the same from three. I mean, what? I mean, it's just like, I mean, shoot, it's time to play some 90s basketball. Foul somebody, start a fight or something, slow the game down or something, man. But I mean, it's insane. And I mean, the fact that, like I said, it's just the game is just so different now where you go into the fourth quarter down 5, you know, feeling good about it, that this is going to be a competitive game down the stretch, and you end up losing by 29, and you look up and you're like, what happened?
Yeah, this reminds me a little of what was happening last season defensively, where James Borrego was just trying to clog the paint so much, and they were allowing franchise record three-pointers made in a game. That would happen constantly. It's not like that was a franchise record for these franchises, but Philly hits 21, Miami hits 23 last night, and they're just not out there contesting enough shots, and you get beat by close to 30. Another disaster quarter. You know, we've seen this before. The consistency for the Hornets started to figure that out a little bit. And fourth quarter, they get outscored 42-18. And I think the Heat were up 5 with 11 minutes to go. And that's when it all went to hell. Like, after that,
give up over 70 plus bench points. Now, granted, Tyler Hero had 35 of those, but still, I mean,
they don't count. Look, you can't convince me that Tyler Hero is a bench player. I'm sorry. That guy,
that's true.
Technically, yes, but those are starter points.
Well, what about Duncan Robinson, though? Like, it doesn't matter.
Those are bench points.
Yeah.
Those are total bench wrench points.
And what about Caleb Martin going 3 for 3 from behind the line in the 26 minutes?
Should have kept both of them. Should have kept the twins together. The Wonder Twins. You separate the Wonder Twins. This is what happens.
Yeah, this is them they get stronger when they are around one another. And look, even some of the starters got off. Bam Adebayo had a great game. Got fouled a lot, hit 8 of his 9 free throws, played really good defense. So really the question is, Wes, like, I kind of look at this as they have to win out now to have a shot at the 8 seed, like, just trying to be realistic. You know, there are pathways for them to get there if they only lose one more. I get all of that. But realistically, I feel like they have to take care of the rest of the games. And the one they would technically steal is against Chicago, who is going to be the favorite. The other games, they should be the favorite, right? I think we have 3 more. Yeah. We have the game against Orlando tomorrow night, Chicago, and Washington.
The Wizards.
Yep. So you got to win out to have a shot at the 8 seed. Do you think they can do it?
Do I think they can? For sure. Do I think they will? I think I'm going to remain to have faith in this team. I saw what they did last month. I saw what they did against the Knicks. So I got to think this team feels the intensity of what needs to be done. I mean, these 2 losses, granted, they were horrible, but they were against 2 of the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference. And these are 2 teams that many people feel like NBA Finals contenders in the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, granted, the scores were bad, but those were 2 of the best teams. So you got to think we're coming up against teams that we should be able to take care of business. This is a team just not saying how serious do they take it, but just how much intensity and sense of urgency. You know, Coach Borrego's talked about that all season with this team. Will they continue to have that? Will they come out and just understand, you know, hey, we just have to keep going? Will they rest on their laurels? Because if I'm not mistaken, they are locked into that 10 seed, right? There's no way they can lose that.
Right.
So it's like, but you don't want to see that, because you'd be very disappointed to see if they don't come out and at least handle their business. You got to at least come out of here with 2 out of 3 at a minimum to feel at least somewhat comfortable going into the play-in. But I'm going to keep faith in Buzz City, so I'm going to go. I think they do it.
Well, if they do, have any chance of getting out of this play-in, they've got to make some tough decisions around their rotation right now. Montrezl Harrell didn't play last night, DNP coach's decision. Jalen McDaniels did play a lot more than he did in the previous game against Philly. And then you factor in this Gordon Hayward situation. So Gordon misses 22 games due to a twisted ankle. He was declared out late last night, right before the game, for left foot soreness. And it just seems like that's going to get interesting with how do you put Gordon Hayward back into this rotation. He came in the Philly game. He was off the bench. Will he, get to that starter position again? Just kind of break down for us your view on the challenge ahead for Coach Borrego as he decides on what rotation he's going to go with, both in the play-in and then, in the chance they make the playoffs. He's got to figure that rotation out as well.
Yeah, we've always talked about just how deep this team is, how talented, how many bucket getters they have, so to speak. And so, again, as we talked about how well they played in March, the chemistry was great when you looked at the assist numbers, you looked at the points per game, you looked at the offensive efficiency and all those things, and even defensively, especially in clutch time situations, they had their moments. They weren't great, but they had their moments. So you do say to yourself, okay, when the chips are stacked against us and we have to win these games, when you're talking playing, Doug, it's like I have to go with the 7-8 guys that I feel like that I can trust the most this season. So I feel like that's probably what he's going to have to do. But then again, as you said, this is why we don't get paid what JB gets paid, because like you're paying Gordon Hayward, that type of salary to where he's a guy that you have to give minutes to. So it's like, do I bring him in? Is it going to throw off the chemistry? Montrez, sometimes you just have to say, okay, does he fit into this matchup? Does he fit in defensively with what we're trying to do? If he doesn't, he may have to sit. But I think at this point, when you're trying to advance and get a spot in the postseason, you will have to tighten it up a bit to the guys that you can trust the most, the guys that are playing at their best right now. So yes, there are some tough decisions that are going to be made. Were you asking me to say like who I think those guys should be?
I mean, yeah.
If you have a strong opinion, do you think Gordon Hayward should be starting right now? With next game, if Gordon Hayward's available to play, should he start or should he come off the bench?
Yeah, I think he should be a reserve. I do think that. I don't think that he should go into this starting lineup right now, especially like I said, if he's sitting with some nagging injury issues and things like that. Now, I'm not in practice. I don't see how great he looks, and we know what he means to this team. So, if he's in practice and he's looking great and he's in the 5-on-5s and in practice just balling out, then, by all means. But as far as just what I've seen, as I said, the chemistry they displayed last month, the way they've been playing, I would say right now, let's work him in off the bench.
All right, Wes is coming to us live from his car after an eye appointment. Let's get him out of this and get to the next segment as quick as possible. Give him some fire or fizzle via the rec specs. This is the time of year I've pretty much given up on my New Year's resolution. I imagine I'm not alone, but you can stick with it, especially if it comes to eating right. When you go to Built Bar, order a box of Built Bars that have great flavors, whether it be limited time or the OGs. They're all covered in 100% chocolate. They're low calorie, they're high protein, they're low sugar, they're high fiber. You can replace your candy bars with these, so you're eating something healthy instead of a dessert that isn't going to be good for you. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Straight fire or fizzle coming up next. Locked On Hornets podcast.
This is Locked On Hornets.
You give them the pink to let them know you have a little bit of a softer side, but you give them the black to let them know it's still real out here. Don't run up on me, okay? I just got to let you know it's still real.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Wes Bryant now going black screen for us. We do not have him anymore. He is on site.
It's still real.
Yeah, he is. And boom, there he is. Just make a grand entrance. He's coming down the stairs for the party, and everybody's excited for Wes. Before we get into the fire or fizzle, we all did do a bracket challenge together. I had a bad Iowa loss early because I had them in the Final Four. Had a decent first weekend outside of that, and then Arizona loses, Gonzaga loses. I was going chalk. I get destroyed. Didn't have a shot at this thing. Wes, how did you do? And at the end, was it a person who picked Kansas to win the championship that won it all? Like, what can you tell us about the bracket challenge?
No. I was like middle of the pack. I plummeted. I was near the bottom early on. I tried to get too cute, man. I was looking at teams' schedules and who they beat and how hot they were. And I was thinking that some of these teams I didn't know a thing about were going to rise up and beat some of these teams. And I just picked too many upsets. Ended up finishing middle of the pack. But my guy, Dwayne Jones, ended up winning the bracket challenge. He had Arizona winning the challenge. So, I mean, that tells you, where we were all at. But nobody in our bracket pool had Kansas, and nobody had North Carolina. Me personally, I had North Carolina losing to Marquette in round 1. So, wow. Yeah. So, I
picked a terrible year to decide not to be a homer.
Yeah.
If I adjust,
right.
Every year I pick UNC to go way beyond, unless they're a 1 seed, and then I definitely put them in the final, but I usually pick them to go way beyond projections. The 1 year I decided not to be a homer.
Yeah. They did.
Hurt me too. I actually had them beating Baylor. I had them pulling off the upset and going to the Sweet 16, but I didn't think they would get past UCLA. And eventually they get to the championship game. They almost get it done, but they don't. And so shout out to, who was it that won our bracket challenge? Who'd you say won?
Dwayne Jones, my man Dwayne.
Shout out Dwayne.
Shout out Dwayne. All right, let's get to Fire Fizzle. I asked if he could come up with a couple of pictures, since you were at an eye appointment, of guys that were either wearing goggles in game or had any kind of eyeglass wear outside of playing on the court. He said, I'll see what I can come up with. I might have a couple of things in mind. And then immediately text me afterwards, said, okay, I actually have a lot. So let's try to fire through these real quickly.
Yeah. All right,
Doug, how many pictures do you have, and who do you want to start with?
All right, let's go with, I think, one of the most famous goggle wearers of all time, Kareem the Dream Abdul-Jabbar. What do you think? Kareem, fire or fizzle?
Straight fire.
Yeah.
Because boom. The originator. All right. He is the person that when anybody wears goggles in a sport, that is who they call him. My son, I actually purchased him a pair of rec specs to play in. And my mom calls him Kareem. And that's pretty much the nickname you get when you wear goggles. So he is the originator. So for that alone, for Cap, rocking the goggles, he is the originator in my opinion, because he's the guy, like I said, that all people who wear them now, people automatically, that's the first name that comes to mind. People are going to call you Kareem.
Okay, Wes, if this is fire, then what is this?
Oh, baby. The swag.
Like, if that's fire, that's like nuclear.
That is seductive.
Nuclear.
For people that are not watching YouTube, it is now a picture of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar looking at me in a very seductive way, laying on his side on the court, holding a basketball. So yes, we have gone to the bedroom with this pick, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It is also straight fire. All right, what else do you have for us, Doug?
All right, next up, another famous goggle wearer, Horace Grant, this time in a Bulls uniform. Now, I did try to pick ones that were a little bit unique. Now, Wes, these remind me of the 3D goggles that you get when you go to a movie theater. All right, so what do you think, fire or fizzle?
I'm going to go straight fire the 90s.
Upset.
The 90s nostalgia. Horace Grant rocking the joints. I liked him because he had the thing about Horace was he was fly with it because he would wear the colored rims. When he went to Orlando, he had the blues. I think with Chicago, he rocked. I think he rocked the black. I think he rocked a white.
There was some red. I saw some pictures of these are white, but I saw some pictures of the reds as well.
That's what I'm saying. So he was jiggy with it. So yeah, you got to go with that. Fire.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go off the court and to the last dance, the owner of the Charlotte Hornets. Here we go. Michael and Jordan.
Listening to Kenny Lattimore. That's what Michael is doing on the bus. He's got the headphones open to brag about how he's got a Kenny Lattimore album that's not even out yet.
Baby sunglasses that he has on. Very tiny.
Listen, Mike, you know what I mean?
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Listen, Mike, Mike is a trash talker. I know if he saw me wearing something that he didn't think was hot, he would probably say something to me. So, Look, Mike, I love you. I
It's
bought
risky.
so many things. I just recently got a pair of Jordan 12 playoffs, but for these shades, straight Fizzle.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a dangerous game you're playing, Wes.
Does it hurt?
Game you're playing.
Does it hurt that he's listening to Kenny Lattimore? Does that have anything to do with it, or is it just the straight look?
I mean, listen, whatever gets Mike going to go out there and drop 35 plus.
That's fine. Okay.
But if Mike did get upset with me, I would just open my closet and just show him the plethora of Jordans purchased, the merch purchased, especially in the Hornets shop, and Jumpman gear. And I would show him the receipt for my Hyper Royal Jordan 1s and the playoff 12s I just got.
Okay.
So he can't be too mad at me.
All right, you got a lot of fire stuff. What's the next one, Doug? What's the next pick?
All right, let's go.
Okay, let's go back on the court. Not many Hornets have rocked the specs on the court, but one very famous Hornet was an early Hornet that, of course, is Kurt Rambis with the legit. These were legit eyeglasses. These were not goggles. I mean, Kurt was rocking the Eckerd's drug prescription.
Eckerd's joints. Yo, R.I.P. to Eckerd's. Listen, straight fire the 90s.
Stadium's ablaze. The Nets ablaze. Another one.
I'm speechless.
Of the originators to where when you rock goggles today, the old heads are going to mention him. He might be the second most mentioned behind Kareem if you rocking the goggles. People are going to say, oh, you Kurt Rambis out here, huh? You know what I'm saying? Plus, Kurt Rambis was a tough guy. We know driving down the court, getting clothesline. You know, they don't do much of that anymore. So, hey, man, I gotta give Kurt, man.
All right, we're good. We're giving love to the OGs today. What a massive, that is a St. Peter's style upset. I did not expect that from Wes, the guy who does give the verdict on fire or fizzle.
And Rambis was rocking the little bit of the long hair, a little bit of, I don't know if it was a mullet per se, but it was definitely professor in the front, party in the back.
Yeah, so he's partying back there. All right, what else you got,
Doug? Next one, I know already that Walker, you're gonna love these. Let's go to Amari Stoudemire. With
come
the
on,
new
Wes.
style of the goggles.
Talk to him, Wes.
Listen, for Amari Stoudemire, straight fire, but he doesn't get the all the jubilation, but they are fire.
Okay,
that was nasty in his day before the knee went out on the microfracture. And I did like the new style glasses, man. Those were fly. They were fly.
For me, I think those are just if you're to look at the style of them, I think those are the sickest ones that we have seen. I actually like those. I think those look cool kind of on their own. I was worried. I thought you were about to say that those were fizzle.
The nostalgia pushed the first two guys over.
Right.
Rambis and Kareem. You know what I'm saying? But Stat was nice. So, and I did like that.
Okay. Last one, Doug. Two more. All right.
Yeah, two more quick ones. So this was from this year. It's from a Lakers game where Dwight Howard accidentally broke Wendell Carter's goggles, and then LeBron decided to pick up part of the goggles and wear them. So what do you think? What do you think about this very simple style of goggle? Just really the plastic piece on his eyes.
Broken style of goggle is
broken style for sure. But sometimes when you break things, you find something even more beautiful. What do you think? Fire or fizzle?
Great. Fizzle for LeBron running the Lakers.
Finders keepers. Losers.
Yeah, that is some hard. Yes, that is some hatred for LeBron running the Lakers, asking for Russell Westbrook instead of getting Buddy Hield and putting an end to that trade, and then to have these broken goggles on just puts an end to whatever fire LeBron could have brought.
One more. These are my favorites, so I saved my favorite for last. The one, the only, the traveling salesman, Bo Outlaw, played for a lot of teams. Bo here rocking a sort of a modified Amari because they've got a little bit of the coloration glare to them. Very 90s. This is a very 90s style to me. What do you think?
Yeah, those jerseys are fire. I know that.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, that's definitely a lot like the one Stat had. I'm going to go straight fire for the 90s nostalgia again. Both Outlaw, you know what I'm saying? And the jersey. Even though I know it's not the jerseys, but it added to the optics of it. And like you said, with the little tint on them. So yeah, man, we're going to go with that. Protect the eyes out there.
You heard the man, straight fire. Wes looks fire. This is after the eye appointment. We decided to bring it in. He's straight on the scene in his car. Let's get him out and into the comfort of his own home, or at least at the Spectrum Center. Just get out the car, Wes. We appreciate the determination. Follow this dude on Twitter at WesGotRange. And thanks for hopping on with us on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Wes, we appreciate the time, man. Thanks again.
No doubt, fellas. Hopefully next week's podcast will be excited and getting ready for some play-in basketball.
It's coming down to it. We'll see how it all plays out. The final 3 games of the regular season. Thanks again to Wes Bryant joining us on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Thanks to you guys for following us on Twitter. Walker Mail, Doug Branson, LOH, Locked On Hornets. Check us out on YouTube as well and making us your first listen. Your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. Nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Again, make sure you check out the Locked On Now and Locked On NBA. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get your pods. Thanks again for hopping on with us. We'll be back with you tomorrow.